August, Osage County, the Pulitzer Prize-winning Lost in Yonkers, The Wizard of Oz, My Fair Lady, as well as her formidable role as Joan the Freak Ferguson in Wentworth. Pamela is in Melbourne, drawing crowds to the MTC in an adaptation of Rebecca, the brooding Gothic drama, based on the 1938 novel that has never been out of print. And to tell us about it, the actor, director and member of the Order of Australia recipient joins us now. Pamela, welcome back to Triple R.
Oh, well, hello. Boy, I've been busy.
Yeah, some life you've had. You play a few roles in this production.
Yes, I do. I play 3.
Yes, yeah. And is that bit of fun? Is that a challenge? Is that...
Yes, all of the above. Very good. It's Anne-Louise Sykes, who's the artistic director of the Melbourne Theatre Company, has also done the adaptation of this Daphne du Maurier novel for the stage, and through the kind of course of developing it, she was exploring doing it with a cast of not hundreds, but a cast of 10, and as she started kind of distilling it and making it, it suddenly became more interesting for her to basically have one person playing the central role of the unnamed woman, the woman who is the second Mrs. De Winter, and the rest of the cast play all the other roles. So I'm playing all the other women. Well, not all of them, because Toby Truslove plays a grandmother, but most of the women in the story.
Yeah. We have Pamela Rabe. Why do we need to cast more people?
Exactly. Yeah, she'll do it.
Get your money's worth. Come on.
There's a muted kind of spookiness or like a menace to the play. I'm wondering, does that inform your days?
Does it? Not really. No, in fact, we have a lot of fun. It's a great cast. Stephen Phillips, Nikki Shields plays the woman, Toby Truslove, as I said, and me, and they're a great group of people. And as I always find, what I'm doing, particularly, plays that have dark themes, we tend to get very, very silly backstage, so just to kind of keep things balanced.
Is that, that's just intuitive? You
kind of stay sane. Yes, But it's a beautiful piece, a moody piece, Gothic. For those who aren't familiar with the story of the novel, and also there was a very famous Hitchcock film in 1940. It is a kind of a mysterious world that's been beautifully realised by Anne-Louise Sykes and the design team, Mark Horwell, who just picked up a Tony Award for her production of Picture of Dorian Gray. And Paul Jackson's done the lighting, Grace Ferguson and Joe Paradis have done the sound, and it's a very intense, very pure, exquisitely beautiful setting.
Now, this role, Mrs. Danvers, has been, am I correct in thinking Diana Rigg?
That's one of them, yes.
Diana Rigg has played this character?
Has she?
Yes. Yeah, right. So what's it about this role that you can tap into?
Well, that's one of the 3 I play. I also play Mrs. Van Hopper, who's kind of irritating, noisy American who hires the woman to be, she's training her up to be a companion of the bosom, she's chaperoning her around Europe. I also play Beatrice, who's Maxim de Winter, who's the man the woman falls in love with and marries rather quickly to become his second wife, as well as Mrs. Danvers. But certainly Mrs. Danvers is it's an iconic role. It was played by Dame Judith Anderson in the Hitchcock film, and people probably, even if they haven't seen it, sort of kind of remember it, oddly enough, in some similar ways to what Maggie Kirkpatrick did when she created Joan Ferguson for Wentworth.
When you go into playing a character that, like is iconic, or and it's a work that's been adapted, are you hesitant maybe to watch or the film or read the book and just kind of take your own kind of interpretation, or how do you approach it?
A little bit. I mean, certainly this one, because Anne-Louise did her adaptation more based on the book than on the film.
Yeah.
Hitchcock took a few liberties and also was somewhat constrained, I suppose, by the kind of cultural censorship that went on in the 40s. Now you can tap into slightly different things, and Anne-Louise was more interested in doing the book. So certainly I read the book very deeply. We all did. Do I resist? No. I mean, I knew the film before I knew the book, and as I say, it's iconic. It's kind of, even if I tried to ignore it, it's sort of burnt into my memory. there's a quote that Hitchcock, when he was asked, he was getting the costume design for Judith Anderson, said all her dresses must go to the floor. He never wanted to see her feet.
Oh.
She needed to kind of glide in like an apparition into every scene that she was in. And somebody reminded me of that recently, and I thought something must have gone in there, because I'm certainly very aware when I'm. The shoes were very important for this production, and you want to be kind of stealthy. And Paul Jackson's design is amazing lighting, where I literally can sort of creep in and then just suddenly be there, and then just suddenly be gone. And that is lots of fun.
Well, it's so interesting because there's a recent Netflix film of Rebecca, and the visual opulence that's kind of necessary for a project like that versus the kind of imaginative aura that is created in the theatre is it's more fun.
Yeah, it is. And when you've got somebody as talented as Mark Horwell, when you want to kind of create opulence, she just has a knack for taking one great object, like a big mammoth burning fireplace, or one very, very ridiculously large oval mirror, and somehow that can hint at something and invite an audience to use their imagination to create that opulent world.
That's all you need. There was a acting teacher, I believe, who once said to you, she's good, but she's too tall to be an actress.
That was a man, and his name was John Brockington, and he's dead. But, yeah. Well, I am too tall, but I am an actress, so there you go.
But it's that perseverance is thrilling to watch, really, and your fans have seen you over decades.
Yes, a long time.
Yeah.
I'm very old.
And what sort of... And then you're in Wentworth, which has its own fandom, and I'm wondering how do you choose roles thinking of others ever and what people might like to see of you, or is it all about...
No, never. No, I choose them because of how much I'm interested in them, really, and I've always... I remember very early on somebody telling me what you say no to is as important as what you say yes to. And I've always felt that I needed to, the job I was doing at any given time had to be the most important thing. And I'd ever done. You always want to be as excellent as you can be. And I have to feel that when somebody gives me a script to read or tries to encourage me to do something, if I don't feel a little tingle, I don't have to understand why I'm intrigued by it, but I have to feel like I'm interested in it, not thinking about other people particularly, very selfishly. I have to think about that. I think for a while I probably actively sought to do many, many different things, and I've been really lucky to have a huge variety of stuff thrown my way. And certainly when I played that role on Wentworth, as I say, created by Maggie Kirkpatrick, but that's iconic. And for a while I thought, maybe I shouldn't do roles that are like that again. And then after a while I sort of thought, I'm too old. Fuck it, If it's,
do what you want.
Do what you want.
Yeah.
If it's good, do it. Yeah. Then So yes, there's a hint of, I have to say, that character that I played in Wentworth probably sits at the core of Mrs. Danvers as well. And I'm doing a play at the Sydney Theatre Company next year, a wonderful play called Doubt by John Patrick Shanley, which has got its main role as I play basically a version of Joan Ferguson in a wimple and a nun's habit. So, I think, hell, they're great roles. Let's run with that.
Yeah. You've spoken before about fairy dust in the theatre. I'm wondering what is the strike rate of getting that fairy dust?
Strike rate. What's strike rate? I don't know. I do remember these things people say to me when I'm starting out, and I remember an actress who was a real mentor to me when I was trained in Canada, and I remember her saying to me as I was starting out, she said, well, listen, of every 10 jobs you do, you'll be lucky if, 7 out of the 10 where you'll be working with a director or it will be worse than what you could have done on your own. 2 will neither get in your way, neither hinder you, nor help you. And 1 will actually get something better out of you than you could have done. And I would say that's probably about right, 1 in 10. having said that, I think I've actually been luckier than that, and even the ones that have been slightly flawed as experiences, there's always been something of value. I'm always amazed how a production that I think, that I spent 3-5 months of my life, pouring my heart and soul into, but didn't necessarily achieve the kind of success that I'd hoped for. Somebody will walk up to you and say, I saw this thing 20 years ago and it changed my life forward. And you can't anticipate what the other half of the equation might bring into a space and have a story told to them, and it will just resonate for some reason. Yeah. So you could think that, it's everything's not cooking, that amp hasn't been turned up to 11, and it'll be a different experience for somebody else. And that's what's so wonderful about telling stories in a live context.
Getting surprised yourself. You mentioned I was reading a very maybe a 40-year-old profile on you.
You just keep reminding me about how old I am.
What can I say except the collect calls home were extraordinarily expensive to Canada, and also you're in love with a Cascade Premium Lager. You're in love with a Tasmanian beer. I'm wondering if your tastes have changed and if you ever went back to Canada.
I have been back to Canada. Funny enough, I had not been back for a dozen years, and I went back this year for a visit to see family, the family that refused to come to see me in Australia. I still love Tasmanian beer. It's way better than Canadian beer. I'll tell you that right now. What, you want a brand endorsement?
No, I don't. It's just,
I lament the loss, the death of Cascade Premium Lager.
How interesting that no one came to visit.
Oh, they do. Some of them do. I have many siblings. Some do, and then the ones that don't, I thought, well, I better go and check them out.
All right. Well, Rebecca is currently on at the Sumner Theatre, Southbank, the adaptation and directed by Anne-Louise Sarks. You can head to mtc.com.au for more information. And what a delight to join us in the studio, Pamela Rabe. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Thanks, Pamela.